Tim Rickson, British Boxing News, and welcome to my Dmitry Bivol versus Gilberto Ramirez fight preview. Let's get straight into it. So this Saturday, November the 5th, Dmitry Bivol will be defending his WBA Super light heavyweight world title against fellow undefeated light heavyweight Gilberto Ramirez. That takes place at the Etihad Arena in Abu Dhabi. The Russian champion Bivol, he'll be defending his belt for a 9th time, and he will become the first ever world champion to defend his title in Abu Dhabi, which is obviously a new location in the Middle East for big boxing events. So that's a good achievement for him. Defending his belt for a 9th time, that's a lot of defences, closing in on 10 defences. It's all sort of like record status. But he only really rose to prominence in his last fight against Canelo Alvarez in Las Vegas, where he got an unanimous decision. So right now, he's the man who beat the man. So he's now up there. He's taken Saul Alvarez's status as one of the pound-for-pound best boxers in the world right now. So he's got a lot of momentum, a lot of confidence behind him, especially as the defending champion in this bout. But the challenger, his 9th challenger, Ramirez, he's also a record breaker. He's also made history in his own career. He was the first ever Mexican to win a super middleweight world title, so that's a fantastic achievement for him and for his country. He's nicknamed Zurdo de Oro, which means Golden Southpaw in Mexican, and he lives up to that moniker. As a southpaw, he's a great mid-range combination puncher. He puts his punches together really well. He varies his shot from head to body. And not just that, there's hooks that go in, there's uppercuts, there's straight shots to the head. So his combination punching is really like one of the best in the world, especially up at his sort of higher weights. He really does put his punches together really well. And they come in thick and fast, 6, 7, 8 shots all at once. And all his opponents can do is sort of tuck up, but they won't stop them coming in, because when they come in at head, body, around the side, up through the middle, you can't defend against all those different levels at one time. It's impossible to do. So he's really, really good at putting that together, and that's the reason why he's got 30 KOs from 44 victories. So yeah, he's a fan favourite. He's exciting to watch. He's heavy-handed. He can finish fights off. So he's going to be a very, very dangerous challenger to Bivol. Bivol, as the champion, he's not completely different, but he does have a different style to Ramirez. Bivol's a very stand-up tall, very long-range puncher who is probably one of the world's best at controlling distance. He uses that jab to incredible effect. It's his best weapon. Definitely his best weapon, and he uses that jab to keep his opponents at range, at bay. He's a stand-up tall fighter, so a lot of stand-up tall fighters, they're kind of there to be hit, because they don't use their upper trunk that often because they're very stand-up tall, but he uses his feet to great effect. His feet are his defense mechanism, and his defense is really, really good because he doesn't get hit that often. He uses his feet to sort of make these little half steps to get in, land his straight shots, 1, 2, 3, 4 times. Then he uses his feet to make little half steps out of range again, so he avoids anything coming back. He moves laterally very well, so Canelo tried sort of bum rushing him a few times, but he managed to move laterally to get away from those attacks. And whenever he did get caught on the ropes, at times, he'd adopt a high guard. He'd bring his hands up nice and high to stop quite a lot of those shots getting through, so that he didn't get too much damage. He's also got a very good boxing IQ. He's a cerebral fighter. He uses his brain as well as his feet and his hands. So he's the full package, and he's a very good thinker. He's very intelligent. He's got lots of little tricks. There's lots of little bits of trickery that he uses to land his shots, which are always eye-catching for the judges to mark down as his round, going all the way towards a unanimous decision very often in his careers, in his fights. He's he's always pouring with his jab, sort of jousting, pouring, waving his jab in his opponent's face. It's very distracting for them, very frustrating too. They can't seem to get around it. And while he's pouring with that jab, he's quick as a flash, landing jabs to the face. Sometimes he places his jab above his opponent's jab as they're sort of feeling each other out, pouring with that jab, and then he'll go underneath with it to land to the body. So he's very unpredictable, and he's very quick at what he does as well. So lots of little tricks from the champion that Ramirez is going to have to watch out for. I mentioned about the high guard. So with Ramirez, the way that he's a really good body puncher, if he can force Bivol to adopt that high guard, he can come underneath with his fantastic body shots, where he does slam him in with a lot of torque and speed. So that is probably one of his best chances of success. Bivol won't stay there for too long, so he's got to quickly reel off those body shots as fast as he can, and then try to avoid anything coming back. That's where I think possibly Ramirez could slip up slightly, or where his style could go against him, because he sometimes leaves his head on the centre line for too long. So he'll go in, he'll land his shots, but while he's landing his shots, his head is there on the centre line, where someone like Bivol, with all his speed and skill and distance judging, he will quickly get those straight shots off, land on that head that's stuck there, left there on the centre line for just a couple of seconds too long. That's where I think he'll have a lot of success. But you know, just sort of backing up, summarising the fight, looking back, taking a step back. 64 wins between them, 41 knockouts shared, no losses, both unbeaten champions, one reigning, one former. This is going to be a fantastic night on Fireworks Night, and it's guaranteed to deliver fireworks on Guy Fawkes night. My prediction, Ramirez, he's going to want to fight at close range, mid-range. We know that. That's what his game plan is going to be. He's got to get in, close the gap, and he's got to get those shots off, those combination punches off as quick as possible. But while he does that, I think his head will be there, will be susceptible to counter-attacks. I also think that he's not going to be able to do the fight he wants to do that often, because of how good Bivol is at controlling the distance and making it his fight. He's going to keep him on the end of his jab for most of the fight. There's going to be times where Ramirez is going to get in close and cause a lot of trouble. But Bivol, I think, for the majority, is going to be fighting the fight that he wants to fight, which will be at distance and long range. And because of his superior boxing IQ, because of his jab, which you know, is his best weapon, and that jab has taken him around the world, winning fights all over the world, I do believe that the long distance fighter will beat the mid-range fighter, and I'm predicting Bivol to win via unanimous decision. Thanks for listening. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and come back for more previews. Thanks very much.